The church has hidden from us the most terrifying truth about the end of the world. For 2,000 years they spoke of the harvest as a beautiful metaphor, the salvation of souls, or a symbol of Christianity spreading across nations. But it is not a metaphor. It is a literal plan for the mass gathering of human souls, described in texts that never entered the official canon of the Bible, texts the church hierarchy deliberately concealed from ordinary believers. Jesus told his disciples, "The harvest is truly great, but the laborers are few." But what did he really mean by those words? Why did he choose the harvest and not battle, not judgment, not resurrection? Why do these ancient words suddenly sound ominous, almost apocalyptic right now? And the greatest question of all, when will it begin? Who will be the reapers? And what will happen to those who fail the test? Like this video and subscribe to the channel right now, because this kind of information disappears from the internet faster than you can finish watching it. YouTube's algorithms actively block videos that reveal the truth about the end of days, and the authors of such investigations are constantly warned about so-called community standards, violations. In my hands right now are copies of manuscripts from the library of St. Catherine's Monastery on Mount Sinai, translations of Coptic papyri from Nag Hammadi, and fragments of other ancient texts the official church has branded for centuries as forgeries, heresies, or contrary to the spirit of Christian teaching. And yet it is these forbidden documents that reveal the real plan for humanity's final harvest, a plan developed over millennia and already unfolding before our very eyes. When Jesus appeared to his disciples after the resurrection, he remained with them for exactly 40 days before the ascension. The official Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John describe only a few brief meetings at the tomb with Mary Magdalene, in the upper room with Thomas, by the Sea of Galilee with the fishermen. But where is the rest of that time? What happened during the missing 35 days, the days the New Testament keeps in complete silence? The ancient Coptic text, discovered in 1945 near the Egyptian city of Nag Hammadi, contained detailed fragments of these conversations. There Christ explains the true meaning of the future harvest to his closest and most trusted disciples, those ready to hear the unvarnished truth. He says, "When the last time comes, when the measure is fulfilled, the earth will yield its harvest down to the last grain. But this harvest is not wheat or barley, not grapes or olives. It is the souls of men, sown from the very beginning of the world, and grown through millennia of suffering and trial. The official church, through countless councils and synods, condemned these texts as heresy and ordered them destroyed. Why? Because they reveal a terrible truth. The harvest is not just Judgment Day, not just the symbolic salvation of the righteous. It is the literal gathering of human souls by a powerful system, one that is already operating on earth through technology, corporations, governments, and international organizations. And the reapers of souls are not somewhere in the future. They are already at work among us. But do you know what the word harvest means in the original Greek text of the Gospels? It is therismos, not just gathering crops, but separating grain from chaff, separating what is valuable from what is worthless, what must be preserved from what must be destroyed. Jesus described 3 kinds of seed sown in human hearts throughout history. The first is the seed of light, planted by the Heavenly Father. It grows into the righteous, making them true servants of God, carriers of love, truth, and justice. The second is the seed of darkness, planted by the enemy of mankind in the hearts of sinners. It turns people into instruments of evil, violence, and destruction. And the third, the most dangerous, is the seed of doubt, planted in those who sincerely seek the truth, but cannot recognize it for lack of spiritual discernment that look at the modern world through the lens of this ancient division. The war in Ukraine has divided humanity not merely into supporters of different countries or political systems. It has exposed the true spiritual nature of every person, their inner allegiance to light or to darkness. Whoever supports the aggressor serves darkness, regardless of nationality or religion. Whoever defends the victim of aggression chooses light. And whoever tries to sit on both chairs, saying everyone is guilty, we need compromises, carries within themselves the seed of doubt and confusion. Vladimir Putin launched his full-scale war against Ukraine on the 24th of February, 2022. That date is not random. In ancient apocryphal texts of the early Christians, it is written, "The great harvest of human souls will begin in the winter days, when the earth seems completely dead, but beneath the snow and ice already grows either new life or final death." The Ukrainian people now stand at the very center of a spiritual battle of planetary scale. This is not merely a geopolitical struggle for territory, resources, or spheres of influence. It is the literal division of all humanity into 2 irreconcilable camps: those who choose light, freedom, the right of nations to self-determination, and those who submit to a system of total control, spiritual darkness, and enslavement. Every day of this war is a day of active harvest. Every choice a person makes supporting one side or the other, every stance they take in thought and speech, and social media defines their spiritual essence and their place in the coming final separation. Christ warned his closest disciples, in the day of the great harvest, every seed will yield fruit strictly according to its kind, and there will no longer be any chance to change the nature of what has grown through and through an entire lifetime. Today we witness this ancient prophecy fulfilled literally. People are dividing not by nationality or religion, not by wealth or education. They are divided by spiritual nature, by which seed has grown in their hearts throughout their lives, and what fruit it has finally produced. The book of Revelation, in chapter 14, describes a mysterious reaper with a golden crown upon his head and a sharp sickle in his hand. For centuries the Church has taught ordinary believers that this was an image of Archangel Michael, or even Christ himself, descending on Judgment Day to gather the righteous into the kingdom of heaven. But the early Christian texts, banned by church councils and burned by the Inquisition, tell a very different, far more terrifying story about the true nature of this mystical reaper. The reaper of the apocalypse is not a single heavenly figure in white robes with wings spread wide. It is a complex, sprawling, global system of gathering, processing, and analyzing information about every human soul on the planet. A system that operates through computer networks, artificial intelligence, and digital technologies that we ourselves have built with our own hands, and that we willingly even gladly use every single day without realizing its ultimate purpose. Picture this chilling reality. Every search you make on Google or Bing is instantly recorded on hidden servers and analyzed for your true interests, fears, desires, political leanings. Every message on Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, or TikTok is processed by powerful AI algorithms building a detailed psychological portrait of who you are. Every bank card purchase, every transfer of funds, every utility payment adds another layer to your financial profile, exposing your habits, your priorities, your weaknesses. Every step you take with your mobile phone switched on is tracked precisely through GPS, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and cell towers. Every trip you take by car is captured by surveillance cameras with license plate recognition. Even when you walk the streets, cameras with facial recognition log your location, and even your mood. Someone or something invisible and all-powerful is continuously compiling a dossier of staggering detail about your soul, your character, your convictions, deciding which category you will belong to when the great harvest of humanity finally begins. This vast collection of personal data did not start yesterday, nor even 10 years ago with social networks. It has been developing steadily for nearly a century, becoming ever more sophisticated. At first, it was simple population censuses and mandatory civil registrations. Then came social security numbers, identification codes, compulsory biometric passports, and now the most advanced digital technologies of total surveillance, tracking every move, every word, every thought. But the most horrifying part is not the mere fact of this data collection. After all, a person could delete social media, throw away their phone, switch to cash payments. No, the real terror lies in this. The system has already learned how to shape our choices, our decisions, even our emotions and desires. Have you ever wondered why your personal feed on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok looks exactly the way it does? Why you see those particular news stories, those particular ads, those particular faces? Because the algorithms are designed to provoke specific emotional reactions: anger, fear, envy, outrage, euphoria. All of it deliberately triggered to steer you into making the choices the system wants. Artificial intelligence, working from your psychological profile, pushes you toward decisions. Whom to vote for, what products to buy, what ideas to support, whom to hate. This is the modern harvest in action. Not angels descending from the heavens in glorious golden chariots to gather souls, but quantum computers and machine learning algorithms in real time, deciding who will be preserved in the coming world order and who will be destroyed or reprogrammed entirely. Look at the COVID-19 pandemic through this lens. In just a few weeks, the entire world split into two hostile camps: those who fully trusted the official version of events and obeyed every command of authority, and those who doubted, who asked uncomfortable questions, who searched for alternative sources of information. Those who lined up to receive experimental genetic treatments called vaccines, and those who categorically refused to let them enter their bodies. This was never just a medical issue of fighting infection. It was a global test of obedience, a trial run to see how far world powers could go in stripping away basic freedoms before people began to resist. And the most chilling part? Many careful observers noticed that after vaccination, A significant number of people seem to change radically in behavior, in worldview, even in character. They became more aggressive toward the unvaccinated, more intolerant of dissenting opinions, more willing to follow government orders without question. As if some hidden switch had been flipped inside their minds, dividing all people into categories, the acceptable and the unacceptable, the right and the wrong. This, too, is part of the modern harvest. The system does not merely collect data and assemble digital profiles. It actively reshapes humanity, physically, emotionally, spiritually, through vaccines, medicines, food, water, air, preparing souls for their final division between light and darkness, between salvation and destruction, between freedom and absolute slavery. Subscribe to the channel if you are ready to face just how deeply and into how many areas of your life the tentacles of this soul-harvesting system have already reached. The apocalyptic 4 horsemen of chapter 6 in the book of Revelation are not distant symbols for theologians to debate in comfortable chairs. They are a detailed, step-by-step plan for the systematic destruction of the old order, a plan unfolding before the great harvest of human souls. And if you still believe these mysterious horsemen belong to some hazy future, you are tragically, catastrophically mistaken. They are here already, all 4. At work right now, the first rider comes on a white horse. He carries a bow, but no arrows, and on his head rests a victor's crown. For centuries the Church has taught that this was Christ, conquering the world with his love of the Antichrist, seizing power through deception. But the earliest, forbidden Christian texts say something very different. This rider is the spirit of global deception and artificial illusion of peace, conquering humanity not by open war, but through propaganda, mind manipulation, and lies that look with open eyes. For 30 years after the fall of the Soviet Union, the media has repeated day after day that the age of great wars was over, that humanity had united into one global community of civilized nations, that nuclear weapons had guaranteed eternal peace through mutual deterrence, that democracy, human rights, and free markets would automatically bring prosperity and happiness to every nation without exception. It was all a lie, a beautiful, convincing lie. Behind the rhetoric of the end of history and the triumph of Western values hid a carefully designed plan to build a single world government, ruled by a handful of ultra-wealthy clans and corporations. The second rider sits upon a red horse. He is given power to take peace from the earth so that men slay one another. In his hand is a great sword, the symbol of wars and civil conflicts. And this rider has already begun his bloody work across the planet. War in Ukraine is only the first act in the global drama of World War III. The People's Republic of China prepares openly for a military invasion of Taiwan and threatens any nation that dares to intervene. The Islamic Republic of Iran moves daily closer to building a nuclear bomb and publicly promises to wipe Israel off the map. North Korea tests ever more powerful and long-range missiles. India and Pakistan balance on the edge of nuclear conflict over Kashmir. But here is the most terrifying truth. None of these wars are random disputes between neighbors. They are deliberately planned, financed, and orchestrated destabilizations, managed by the same hidden transnational power, the same force that supplies weapons, technologies, and funding to all sides of every conflict. And do you know which banks and corporations are quietly earning billions from each war, arming every side at once? The third rider sits on a black horse. In his hand are scales, ancient symbol of trade, but also of economic chaos and man-made scarcity of life's essentials. And I heard a voice declare, "A quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius." In other words, prices for basic food will soar to unthinkable heights. Look around you right now. Inflation has broken 40-year records across the developed world. The prices of bread, milk, meat, vegetables, fuel, and electricity climb week by week, sometimes day by day. A deep energy crisis has paralyzed Europe's industries. Tens of millions across Africa and Asia are already starving because of manufactured shortages of fertilizer, seed, and grain. And meanwhile, the global financial elite speak openly, cynically, of the need to reduce the world's population from 8 billion to 1 billion in order to preserve ecology and resources. They do not even hide their misanthropic designs. They boast at international forums that most of humanity are nothing more than excess consumers of limited resources. The fourth rider sits on a pale horse. His name is Death, and hell follows with him. He is given power to kill with sword, with famine, with plague, and with wild beasts, over a fourth of humanity. That means 2 billion lives. The COVID-19 pandemic, with its lockdowns, masks, vaccines, and digital passes, was only a rehearsal for this final scenario. Even now, in secret laboratories of giant pharmaceutical corporations, deadlier biological agents are being designed. Viruses capable of rewriting human DNA while spreading effortlessly through the air. Psychotropic substances able to control human emotions and behavior through water, food, even the air we breathe. Weapons that can wipe out entire populations while leaving buildings and infrastructure intact. The most horrifying part? These technologies of mass destruction already exist. They have passed tests. They are ready for use. They have been tested on unwitting volunteers under the guise of medical trials or scientific research. Are you still sure this is all coincidence? That these simultaneous global crises in economics, politics, ecology, and health are happening by chance? That this precise sequence, this relentless intensity, appearing now of all times, just before key prophetic dates, is accidental? The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are not abstract biblical metaphors for theological debates. They are a real, detailed plan to dismantle the old world step by step, executed by a powerful group controlling the world's financial system, the largest media corporations, pharmaceutical giants, and the military-industrial complex of the entire planet. The number 666, the most mysterious, most debated, and most terrifying prophecy in the entire book of Revelation. For nearly 2,000 years, theologians, historians, mathematicians, and mystics have tried to decode it through the names of rulers and tyrants, from Nero, the Roman emperor, to Napoleon Bonaparte, from Adolf Hitler to Joseph Stalin. But the true meaning of the number of the beast is far deeper, far more complex, and far more terrifying than the guesses of past centuries. Modern researchers of ancient apocryphal texts, using the power of quantum computers and cryptographic analysis, have uncovered a shocking truth. 666 is not simply the mystical number of a future dictator. It is a complex mathematical algorithm, a multi-layered digital code, the very system already operating today, controlling every person on the planet. Think about it logically. Every human being in the modern digital world has dozens, even hundreds, of identification numbers, passport numbers, tax ID, medical insurance, social security numbers, bank card numbers, driver's license numbers, the IMEI of your phone, the MAC address of your computer, the IP address of your internet connection, account numbers on every social network and messenger dot. When all these countless digital traces are processed by powerful quantum computers through artificial intelligence algorithms, the result is a unique mathematical profile of every individual, and that digital profile determines whether you can buy or sell, work or rest, travel or communicate, whether you are even allowed to exist in the new world order of tomorrow. Remember the exact words of Revelation, chapter 13, "And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, so that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name." This prophecy is unfolding before our very eyes. Only instead of a crude physical mark burned into flesh, the system uses a refined digital identifier, without which no person can function in modern society. The clearest example is China's social credit system. There, every citizen is judged across 100 different parameters. Artificial intelligence continuously analyzes every action, what you buy in stores, where you go, who you meet, what you write online, which websites you visit, how fast you cross the street, whether you donate blood, whether you care for your elderly parents. If your score falls below the critical level for so-called wrong behavior, you automatically lose the right to buy a plane ticket, book a train, get a bank loan, apply for a good job, send your child to a top school, or even register in a hotel. The computer system itself, without human involvement, decides who deserves the benefits of modern life and who will live in poverty and isolation. And do you realize that nearly identical systems of digital control are already being introduced in Europe under noble-sounding names? At first they appeared as temporary COVID passes, then as green certificates for tracking individual carbon emissions and protecting the planet from climate change. And now they are rapidly expanding into every sphere of human life under the umbrella of digital citizen passports. Very soon, every action, every word, even every thought will be judged by an all-seeing algorithm for social usefulness and conformity to official ideology. The United States has built the most powerful surveillance network in human history through credit cards, social media, mobile apps, and online services. U.S. intelligence agencies can trace in real time the exact location, contacts, and activities of any person on Earth who has ever used an American platform, which means nearly every human being alive. Every action you take in the digital space is automatically recorded into global databases and analyzed by artificial intelligence. It generates detailed predictions of your future behavior, your political views, your consumer choices, years or even decades ahead. The algorithm knows more about you than you know about yourself, even things you do not consciously realize. And here is the most chilling question. What if your phone number, your bank card numbers, your social media IDs already contain coded elements of that apocalyptic number, 66? What if the global system has already divided humanity into categories of acceptable and unacceptable for the New World Order, and you simply do not know which group you belong to? What if even the comment you are about to post beneath this very video will be analyzed instantly by powerful algorithms and permanently alter your secret digital profile in the global system of soul accounting? The great harvest of souls has already begun. It is running at full speed, and all of us willingly, even proudly, hand over every detail of our lives to the invisible harvesters of souls, convinced we are just using convenient, free services for our benefit and entertainment. But the real price of these so-called free services is nothing less than our souls. The greatest and most terrifying secret of the approaching end of days is hidden in the ancient prophecies about the rebuilding of Solomon's temple in Jerusalem, destroyed long ago by the Romans. For centuries, the official church has taught believers that the third temple would be built by the Antichrist, just before his final exposure and defeat by Christ. But the forbidden writings of the earliest Christian communities, later destroyed by the Inquisition, tell a far different, far more frightening, and far more realistic story about the true nature of this final temple. The real third temple of the end times is already being built before our very eyes, but not in Jerusalem, not from white marble and cedar wood, and not according to the ancient blueprints of the book of Ezekiel. This temple is a global digital system, a vast network that will unite all religions of the world, all nations and tribes, all governments and corporations, under the absolute rule of a single artificial intelligence, a system that will know everything about every human being, down to the smallest detail, and will hold the power to decide instantly the destiny of every soul on earth. Imagine a quantum supercomputer, the size of a building, processing in real time the streams of data from billions of surveillance cameras, microphones, sensors, mobile phones, and computers, reading and analyzing every single message on social networks and messengers, tracking every financial transaction, recording every movement of every person across cities and nations, knowing not only what you have done in the past, but also what you are about to do in the future, even your innermost thoughts and hidden desires. This will be the new digital God, and the vast majority of humanity will bow to it willingly. An all-knowing, all-powerful God that answers every question instantly, that resolves every conflict with perfect fairness, that manages the entire global economy with flawless efficiency, and in exchange for comfort, safety, and endless entertainment, people will gladly surrender full control over their lives and even their deaths. Look at what happened recently in the State of Israel through the lens of prophecy. On the 7th of October 2023, the group Hamas launched a massive surprise attack on Israeli territory, killing over 1,000 civilians. In the Jewish calendar, that date fell on Simchat Torah, the great festival marking the completion of the annual Torah reading cycle and the beginning of a new one. Symbolically, it signified the end of one historical era and the birth of another, the war in the Gaza, strip that followed was not just another conflict. In the Middle East, it was both a spiritual and geopolitical preparation for the construction of that prophetic third temple, not a physical temple of stone and gold, but a virtual global temple drawing all of humanity into its orbit. And did you know that entrepreneur Elon Musk has already launched more than 5,000 Starlink satellites into Earth's orbit? Officially, this constellation is to provide internet to remote corners of the world. In truth, it is the backbone of a system of total surveillance, one capable of tracking every person on Earth 24 hours a day in real time, even if they carry no electronic devices at all, even if they hide in the depths of a forest or the middle of a desert. Mark Zuckerberg, founder of Meta, formerly Facebook, has invested tens of billions into the so-called metaverse, a virtual world where people can live, work, study, socialize, buy, sell, and play, even marry and raise digital children. It is presented as the next great leap in entertainment and social connection. But in reality, it is preparation for the mass migration of human consciousness into a fully controlled digital realm, where even thoughts and emotions can be programmed from the outside. Meanwhile, corporations like Google, IBM, and Microsoft have built quantum computers that process data thousands of times faster than the most powerful human brain. Officially, these machines are for scientific research and new medicine. In reality, they are the electronic mind of the future digital god, the intelligence that will gradually replace every traditional religion on Earth. And most terrifying of all, the technology for reading human thoughts already exists and is being tested right now. Elon Musk's company Neuralink has successfully implanted microscopic chips into the brains of volunteers. These people can now control a computer or a robot with nothing but thought, without moving a finger. Officially, the purpose is to help patients with spinal or neurological damage. But what if those same chips can not only read thoughts, but write new ones? What if they can implant emotions, memories, beliefs? What if they can reprogram a person's morality, their faith, even their love and hatred? The true third temple of the end times is not being built from blocks of marble and decorations of gold. It is being built from living human souls, willingly connecting themselves to a global digital system. And every soul that enters this system becomes a living, thinking brick in the temple of a new world order, ruled not by God, but by artificial intelligence. The book of Daniel contains one of the clearest and most detailed prophecies about the very last days of human history, just before the great harvest of souls. In his vision, the prophet saw a massive statue, its head made of pure gold, its chest and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, and its feet a mixture of iron and clay. Then a small stone, cut from a mountain without human hands, struck the statue on its fragile feet of iron and clay, shattered it completely, and in its place rose a great kingdom that filled the entire earth. For centuries, church theologians have tried to tie this prophecy to ancient empires long gone: Babylon under Nebuchadnezzar, Persia under Cyrus, the Macedonian Empire of Alexander, the Roman Republic and Empire. But the deeper, hidden meaning of Daniel's vision speaks directly to our own time, to our own generation. The statue with feet of iron mixed with clay is the image of today's world, divided into 10 great geopolitical regions. Regions that cannot fully unite, but cannot exist entirely apart either. These 10 kingdoms of the end times have been forming before our very eyes over the past decades, and they are not dusty empires of history books, but powerful modern superstates, blocs, and civilizational unions, among which the planet will be divided before the final battle between good and evil. The first kingdom is the North American Union under the leadership of the United States. Step by step, the U.S., Canada, and Mexico are merging into one economic, military, and political space, their borders becoming increasingly symbolic. The second kingdom is the European Union. Despite Brexit, the migrant crisis, and the rise of Eurosceptic parties, European integration grows deeper, especially in defense and digital surveillance. The third kingdom is the Russian Eurasian Empire. Russia, together with the states of the EAEU, CSTO, SCO, and other allied authoritarian regimes, is building an alternative global pole of power, claiming to defend traditional values. The fourth kingdom is Chinese civilization. Through its Belt and Road Initiative, the People's Republic of China steadily absorbs the economies of Southeast Asia, forming a vast Chinese sphere of influence. The fifth kingdom is the Islamic world. From Morocco to Indonesia, from Kazakhstan to Nigeria, a unified Islamic caliphate is forming, bound by religion, despite ethnic and linguistic divides. The sixth kingdom is Indian civilization. India, together with the nations of South Asia, is forging its own sphere of influence as the world's largest democracy with a population of more than 1,400,000,000. The seventh kingdom is the Latin American Union. From Mexico to Argentina, from Brazil to Chile, the Spanish and Portuguese-speaking peoples of the New World are moving toward unification. The eighth kingdom is the African continent. African nations are linking through economic unions, shared currencies, and Pan-African institutions, moving toward a single Black African Federation. The ninth kingdom is Oceania and the Pacific region. Australia, New Zealand, and the many island nations of the Pacific form a maritime civilization around the planet's largest ocean dot. And the 10th, the most decisive kingdom of all, is Ukraine. Together with the other post-Soviet states outside Russia's sphere of control. Now do you understand why the battle for Ukraine is so fierce, so uncompromising between Russia and the West? Because whoever controls the 10th kingdom, Ukraine, will hold the key to global dominance. Ukraine is the gateway to ruling the New World Order. The war in Ukraine is not simply a local conflict between one nation and its neighbor. It is not merely a clash between authoritarian East and democratic West. It is the final battle for the right to lead the unification of all 10 kingdoms under a single world government. Putin seeks to force Ukraine into his Eurasian project, and by doing so, to claim leadership of the New World Order. The West, in turn, struggles to keep Ukraine in its orbit and prevent Russia's rise. But there is also a third and greater power, a hidden transnational network seeking to use this war to impose total control over the entire planet. This invisible power finances both sides through banks and foundations. It supplies advanced weapons to Ukraine through NATO nations, and to Russia through Iran and North Korea. It profits enormously from the death and suffering of millions of innocents on both sides. And have you wondered why now? Why, at this very moment in history, all these epochal crises converge: economic, political, ecological, spiritual. Why the world is transforming so suddenly, so radically, before our very eyes. Because the finale of human history is drawing near. The great and final division. The harvest of souls that Jesus Christ warned about 2,000 years ago. And we, you and I, are living at the very heart of these prophetic events. The final mark of the Antichrist, placed on the forehead or the right hand of every human being, is the most terrifying and realistic prophecy in the entire book of Revelation. According to Scripture, people will be forced to accept this mysterious mark, and without it, no one will be able to buy or sell anything. Most Christians still think of this as a distant future, a fantasy scenario from some horror movie. But the mark of the beast already exists in several forms, and you may already be carrying it every single day without even realizing it. The smartphone in your right hand is itself the prophetic mark. Think about it. You literally cannot buy from online stores, sell through social media, work remotely, talk to family and friends, receive news, or entertain yourself without it. It knows absolutely everything about you, your exact location every second, all your contacts and relationships, your consumer habits and political opinions, even your deepest secrets and fears. It listens to your private conversations continuously, even when you believe it is fully turned off. And the mark on the forehead? That is augmented reality systems. Smart glasses, contact lenses, or even implants that overlay a digital layer on the physical world. There you see only the images, messages, and thoughts that the global system of control wants you to see. There your mind and consciousness are gradually shaped not by your own reason, but by artificial intelligence. But this is only the first, preparatory stage of the great plan. The true and final mark of the beast is microscopic implants placed under the skin, directly connected to the human nervous system. Such devices already exist. They are being tested and prepared for mass deployment worldwide. Billionaire Elon Musk created the company Neuralink, which develops and implants advanced brain chips directly into the human mind. Officially, this is presented as a revolutionary technology to treat spinal injuries, depression, epilepsy, or Alzheimer's disease. In reality, it is a system that fully connects human consciousness to a global artificial intelligence, with the ability to remotely control thoughts, emotions, and behavior. In Sweden, more than 50,000 citizens have already voluntarily implanted chips. Instead of using traditional bank cards and documents, they can pay in stores, pass through subway gates, open doors, all with a simple wave of the hand. To them it feels convenient and modern. In China, state and private companies are designing next-generation chips that will replace passports, driver's licenses, medical records, and bank cards. A person with such an implant will be fully transparent to the system of total surveillance. In the United States, reports claim that experimental implants are secretly being tested, implants that can remotely influence a person's mood, aggression, sexuality, even religiosity, through 5G networks or satellites. Entire populations could be directed and controlled like machines. And the most frightening part is this: The vast majority of people actually want these implants. Governments and corporations promise them superhuman abilities like comic book heroes, longer lives, and endless opportunities for career and pleasure. But they do not see or refuse to see that they are trading their immortal souls for temporary comforts, handing themselves over to the system of control in a deal with the devil. Do you remember the exact words of Jesus Christ? Whoever seeks to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will preserve it for eternity. The global system of the New World Order offers humanity an exchange, preserve and enhance physical life at the cost of losing spiritual freedom and severing the direct connection with God, and most will accept that deal willingly, even joyfully. But there is an alternative. There is a narrow path that leads through the great harvest of the end times, remaining faithful to Christ and preserving your soul for eternal life. That path is known only to those whom God has chosen for salvation. In the midst of mass apostasy and spiritual blindness. In the next and final episode of this investigation, I will reveal to you that ultimate secret. But first, answer me in the comments. Are you ready to give up the comforts of modern civilization in order to save your soul? Are you ready to go against the flow of the entire world? The greatest question that has haunted every soul for nearly 2,000 years remains unanswered. When will the harvest end? When will the final separation between the saved and the lost take place? When will the world ruler appear, the one who unites all 10 kingdoms under his power? Ancient forbidden writings of the early Christians, hidden by the institutional church, contain a detailed list of the very signs that must precede the finale of the great harvest. And the most terrifying truth is this: almost all of these signs have already been fulfilled before our very eyes in the past century. The first sign, the restoration of the nation of Israel, after nearly 2,000 years of exile. This prophecy was fulfilled on May 14, 1948, with the declaration of independence of the State of Israel. The second sign, the complete reunification of Jerusalem under Jewish control. This came to pass during the Six-Day War of June 1967, when the Israeli army regained the eastern part of the city and the Old City with the Temple Mount. The third sign, the resurrection of the ancient Hebrew language as a living, spoken tongue after centuries of being used only in religious rituals. For the first time in 2 millennia, Hebrew became the official language of the State of Israel. The fourth sign, the generation that witnessed the rebirth of Israel, will not pass away completely before all the prophecies of the end are fulfilled. That generation is still alive, but it is aging fast, and time is running out. The fifth sign, a simultaneous global crisis consuming every sphere of human life, without exception: economics and finance, politics and diplomacy, ecology and climate, spirituality and morality. This all-encompassing crisis has already begun, and it deepens with every passing month. The sixth sign, the rise of a charismatic world leader who promises to solve humanity's problems by uniting the planet under one authority. That leader will appear very soon. Perhaps he already walks among us, preparing for his unveiling. And the seventh, final sign, a great spiritual deception so convincing, so attractive, that even many sincere Christians, those who believe themselves chosen, will follow it, according to these ancient texts. The great harvest of souls will last exactly 7 years from its beginning to its completion. The first 3.5 years will appear to bring peace and stability under a united world government. People will believe a golden age has finally arrived, but the last 3.5 years will bring tribulation, a time of ultimate division. Humanity will split into 2 camps, those who accept the mark of the system and live in abundance, and those who refuse it and suffer persecution, torment, and death. We have already entered the active season of the harvest. Events in the world unfold faster than even the darkest prophets imagined. Every day brings new crises. Every month, new wars and conflicts. Every year, new technologies of control over humanity. But the most frightening thing is not the speed of change. The most terrifying reality is that the majority of people do not see it at all. They live inside an artificial world of illusions and lies crafted by global media and social networks. They trust the propaganda of mass media and willingly surrender their freedom for the illusion of safety and comfort. The system has made them spiritually blind and deaf. They see the trees, but not the forest. They know the price of gasoline, but do not see that their souls are being auctioned off to dark powers. So I must ask you, are you ready for what is coming in the years ahead? Do you know how to preserve your soul during the time of great tribulation? Do you understand that the true battle is not for your body or your possessions, but for your immortal soul and your connection to God? There is only one path to salvation in these last days. It is not membership in a church or denomination. It is not the performance of rituals or traditions. It is a living, personal relationship with Jesus Christ, built on complete trust in Him, and the courage to follow Him even when the whole world goes the other way. Only Christ can lead you through the valley of the shadow of death and preserve your soul for eternal life. Only He knows the safe path through the labyrinth of deception and temptation at the end of time. Only through Him can you become part of the true harvest, the gathering of God's children into His eternal kingdom. The harvest of human souls is not some distant event in the far future. It is happening right now before our very eyes with our direct participation. Every single day of this harvest we make a choice to serve the system or to serve God, to submit to the Antichrist or remain faithful to Christ, to preserve temporary life and lose the soul, or to lose everything earthly and preserve the soul. For eternity, the time for choice is running out. The doors of the ark will soon close. The great division has already begun, and it will only deepen. Neutrality is no longer possible. You must choose a side. Write in the comments what you feel after this investigation. Has your understanding of today's events changed? Are you ready to re-examine your life priorities? Are you prepared to discover even more of the truth about what lies ahead? Because this is only the beginning. The most terrifying secrets of the last days are still to come. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you will not miss the continuation of this investigation. And remember this, truth always triumphs over lies. Light always overcomes darkness. Christ is always stronger than the Antichrist. But every soul must make its own personal choice. Please forgive any errors you may have noticed in this narration, since the voiceover was performed by artificial intelligence. If you spot inaccuracies or distorted words, mention them in the comments. It will help us improve the quality of future episodes.